Let's speak a little bit more about the KwaZulu-Natal floods and the latest. We're joined now by Lennox Mabaso, who is Head of Communication for the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Government. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us, Mr. Mabaso. If I could, meanwhile, ask you to please unmute yourself. Please tell us, we've just mentioned the death toll. Has there been an update in terms of the casualty figures?
So as the Premier delivered the latest update today during his engagement with the rescue teams and all the disaster officials, we are still sitting at that figure of 448. At this point in time, the focus has been on ensuring that lives are saved and that families that are in distress are assisted.
Okay, so what still needs to be done? As I mentioned, the province is amid rescue and recovery efforts, including aid distribution. Perhaps if you could just tell us what has been going on through the day and the coordination intergovernmentally.
Well, indeed, as you will be aware that His Excellency President Sihle Zikalala announced a state of national disaster. It was escalated to that level. All organs of the state, all the organs of government are working collectively to ensure that we mount a spirited response to this tragedy. There has been additional capacity with national ministers also being here from various sectors, making interventions. But the primary focus at this stage is to ensure that we continue the search and rescue for all affected and still missing people. We also ensure that we are able to provide immediate relief and assistance to those that are still accommodated in temporary shelters. We also had schools opening today, and all was done to make sure that schools open smoothly. There's also been a lot of progress that has been done in terms of restoring the infrastructure and clearing up infrastructure. All the major intersections are now accessible, and also the focus is on providing support and counseling, psychosocial support to those that are currently, going through the trauma of their loved ones missing, but also those who have lost quite a number of their loved ones. We'll know that, for instance, there's a family that lost. We had about 12 people. We had about 12 people. It lost about 10 people. So that those people, that family requires a lot of support. So all our departments, social developments, all our SAPS and all other institutions are on the ground ensuring that we're able to provide support. So there's also a huge program to make sure that we are able to assist those who need to lay their loved ones to rest. Just 2 hours ago, a Table municipality issued a statement just clarifying and also a communication to all affected families to say they will be supported to bury their loved ones, but the provincial government of KwaZulu-Natal also communicated a policy that it has approved to assist the bereaved families. But also there's private sector organizations such as AFBOB that have also come on board. So government is ready. The Department of Health in KZN has completed quite a number of autopsies. Our request now is that families that are ready to bury their loved ones, if they could come to our mortuaries to identify them. The government across all sectors of municipalities, of province, private sector who are ready to also support and assist them to lay their loved ones to rest in a dignified and peaceful manner.
Now, obviously, you're working under difficult conditions. We saw the weekend brought with it more rains and further complications, complicating the rescue and relief efforts. But what are your main challenges as a province as you embark on this route towards stabilization?
Well, the main challenge, I think, it has been the inclement weather, which had continued until, almost the early hours of this morning. It abated a bit during the course of the day today, allowing our rescue teams to intensify the efforts, the search and rescue efforts. So that has been the main challenge. The weather is slowing down some of the efforts, but as the Premier indicated, They are brave men and women at the chest of this war. Our rescue teams and the disaster teams have been braving it all, trying to do their bit. That's why they were able today to make some recoveries in terms of the 5 bodies that Premier Sihle Zikalala spoke about. But also there's been a challenge of some inaccessible road infrastructure where, for instance, bridges were washed away and all of that. But to an extent, we have been able to push a lot. You will see if you visit KwaZulu-Natal, it's a construction site. We're clearing debris on the road. We're trying to organize detours in various areas to be able to access them. As such, that's why, for instance, most of the schools were able to open today and continue with the learning and teaching. So there's quite a lot of work. It's all hands on deck across all government institutions, South Africans coming together in solidarity, ordinary citizens doing their bit. So it's been a very touching experience when South Africans unite to ensure that we're in each other's keeper in hour of need.
I understand that given the current water shortages, you have had to establish what you call a water war room, because you say some communities in KwaZulu-Natal are preventing others who desperately need water from acquiring the resource. Can you take us through what some of the challenges are?
Well, in a disaster of this magnitude, actually a catastrophe, a disaster that has not been witnessed in living memory of many people in South Africa, you are bound to have challenges because, for instance, it has caused a humongous damage. It affected infrastructure networks, towers. It affected communication networks. It affected electricity. It affected water. Most of our municipalities, for instance, we're able within a space of 3 days to reconnect 95% of the areas that were affected as soon as the weather was starting to improve. In terms of electricity, we're able to reconnect 95% of the areas. In terms of water infrastructure, largely is the aqueducts. There are about 4 aqueducts that supplies water, particularly in the area of eThekwini. So aqueducts are those big pipes, bulk infrastructure supply. Now, when those are damaged, they have an impact in terms of the reticulation process because it means the reservoirs are low and they are not operational in terms of their maximum capacity. For instance, we indicated that in some of the reservoirs, we were receiving 550 megaliters, but this disaster took us to about 200. So you can see the magnitude of the challenge that will now have impact in terms of the number of communities. So there are a number of interventions that were put in place. Most people in most areas, some of the water infrastructure has been reconnected. We've been able to restore the supply, but there are still areas where the damage is big, where our teams are still working, the engineers. And now with the president announcing the national state of disaster, there's additional capacity from the SANDF coming in, the experts there, the engineers, the other provinces of the Republic of South Africa also bringing in capacity. So it's all hands on deck, the technical teams, the professional teams. We are mounting a spirited effort to make sure that we collectively are able to make sure that we reconnect the areas, and then we are able to restore the services, and that business is able to continue, the economy is able to function. Of course, some of the things will not happen overnight. As they say, destruction takes about one day, but construction will take months and a number of days. That's why we're appealing to our people for patience, to understand that government is doing its best together with all the social partners and the private sector and the businesses to make sure that we recover from this disaster, and we recover as a united nation and citizens, and we are able to recover better and build back better and have a better province again.
All right. Earlier on, we had the Minister of Cooperative Governance, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma, saying some of the countries who've offered to come to the aid of South Africa, KwaZulu-Natal in particular, include the United Arab Emirates, Algeria, and Japan. Have you taken up this discussion? Are there any particular expertise that you think we would glean or get from them that would help alleviate and expedite some of these operations that are being undertaken?
Well, as Premier Sihle Zikalala and the Provincial Executive Council of KwaZulu-Natal indicated, we've been touched and humbled on behalf of the people of KwaZulu-Natal by the outpouring level of support in international and African solidarity that has been coming through. We've seen a lot of patriotic citizens, including Charles Deron and many others, mobilizing and ensuring that the world, come together to support one of their own, which is South African KwaZulu-Natal in this hour of need. So as the minister indicated, the minister is now with a declaration at the forefront and leading the national disaster. And as KwaZulu-Natal, we are humbled with the capacity and the capability. The minister, as Dlamini-Zuma, is known to be action-packed and orientated. We are going to be receiving that support with humility and making sure that it is able to assist us to recover faster and to rebuild faster for our people to get their lives back to normality, and also for those who are affected to have lost their loved ones to begin a process of healing.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. Much, much appreciated. Lennox Mabaso is the head of communications for the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Government, just updating us on the latest situation.